Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit up to $250. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back, all from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. This is DRF Race of the Day. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF Race of the Day for Friday, June the 4th. It's a sensational graded stakes race in New York. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 2, New York. We're going 1.25 miles on the inner turf. $750,000 is the purse, and you can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them and handicap along with us. Mike, there are so many different ways to go. The 5, the 6, and the 7 are arguably the 3 best filly and mare turf horses in the country.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a really, really good race, Dan. You're right. Those 3 fillies or mares, they're all very good. There are plenty of other talented runners in this field. It feels like there's plenty of pace signed on. I mean, there's a lot to like about this race.
Pace, distance, the 1.25 miles, and course condition. We're expecting a little wet weather this week in New York. Could all affect the outcome of our Race of the Day. Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Mean Mary is a fast horse. She is stretching out in distance. I would expect her to be on the lead. Antoinette and Traipsing have tactical speed. I think Traipsing is the one to go after Mean Mary early.
Yeah, it feels like Traipsing does like to be forward in her races, especially since they stretched her out in distance. She's off the layoff here. You could certainly envision her going forward in this race. Mean Mary, I mean, it just feels like that's her running style, Dan. She can go to the front and she can stay, and that gives her a real big advantage. Antoinette, another horse, Dan, she wants to be forward in her races. This pace, you don't ever expect there to be fast paces and turf races in New York. There really could be one in here.
And a big pace would work to the benefit of the 1, Magic Attitude, who won last year's Belmont Oaks over this course and distance. Her seasonal debut, she might have been a little bit short at Tampa Bay at a distance short of her best, but she put it all together in this race. The Grade 2 Sheepshead Bay, when stretched out to 11 furlongs over firm going. We see her on the outside, and this is what she does when she's right. She kicks on home.
Yeah, she loves distance, and she really does finish. When she gets the right setup and gets a clean run into it, she really can finish, which she does here. This is a pretty impressive effort for her second off the layoff here, Dan. A race at Tampa is probably too short for her. I just thought she was never in a comfortable position to run that day. She obviously got the clean trip here. Look how easily she beat that field. It's a bunched up finish behind her, but she really ran in the stretch.
Virginia Joy is a German bred that really handles distance, and she's got a ton of upside potential for trainer Chad Brown. Let's watch her seasonal debut for Chad. Now, this was a race in which only a non-winners of 2 other than, but it was just a perfect spot for her to make her comeback, and I think a great prep. She was covered up in behind horses. She comes with a run, and she's grinding them down at the end. That's kind of her style.
Yeah, it is. She comes with a pretty good finish in here to gun down her stablemate. There was a pretty solid pace in this race for the level, Dan, and she got a good trip into it, but she also ran pretty well, I thought, especially considering the layoff. I mean, just going back to her form last year, she was pretty good over there. Those races can be hard to judge. Personally, I feel like that German Oaks 3 starts back last August, I think she was best that day. She got totally blocked in the stretch there behind the horse that wired the field, and she was really making up a lot of ground at the end of that race.
And in this race, with all the big names, she might get lost in the shuffle from a wagering standpoint. Micheline is up next. This is a Godolphin homebred for Michael Stidham, graded stakes winner in the Hillsborough 2 starts back. The Jenny Wiley, boy, from a pace standpoint, there was none. And Micheline, I think, was compromised completely by that.
Yeah, I don't think the pace set up the right way for her. I also the more I watched the race, Dan, the more I wondered if she just didn't handle the ground. And I guess that could be a problem for her if this turf gets wet. I will say this about her, though. We've talked about her a lot. I'm a huge fan of hers. I am steadfast in my belief that more distance is better for her. I love her stretching out for this race. I think it's really going to work to her advantage. We'll see if she can handle the ground and we'll see if she can get the right trip. I think she's a little underrated.
My sister Nat, a one-run closer from the Chad Brown barn, second in the Flower Bowl last year at this 1.25 mile distance, really had no chance in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, taken back to last on the rail and couldn't fire on home. And in the Sheepshead Bay last time out, for a prep race, I don't think it was bad. She was no match for Magic Attitude, part of that bunched up finish. I do expect her to run better second off the layoff, Mike, and maybe she's the kind of horse right now that's a nibbler. She doesn't win very often. She needs things to go her own way.
Yeah, I feel the same way about her. I won't be surprised when she runs better in this race. She was, a little bit flat in the Sheepshead Bay. Maybe she just needed that race off the bench. And she's going to be fine with this distance too. I mean, I would be happy to kind of totally dismiss her, Dan, except for the fact that when you go back to the Flower Bowl last year, I mean, there's an argument to be made that she was best that day. I mean, if you reverse the trip that she got with the one that Civil Union got, maybe my sister Nat wins that race.
Harvey's Lil Goyle is up next for trainer Belmont. She had a great year last year. Third in the Grade 1 Alabama, Grade 1 stakes winner on turf, just beaten a neft by Odaria and Rushing Fall in the Filly and Mare Turf. And look at the seasonal debut, the Bogey. I think this was a good prep because I don't think it took a lot out of her. It was a very easy trip. There was no pace on. She just sat second off Platinum Painter, who's a game horse, but not in the class of Harvey's Lil Goyle. And Harvey's Lil Goyle sprints on home, holding off the late kick of La Mista. Yes, she had everything go her way from a trip standpoint. But again, first race back, don't think she got to the bottom of the tank. She's tactical enough where she can come from further out of it.
I mean, I have to agree with all that stuff, Dan. I mean, there's just everything to like about her. She ran really well in her seasonal debut, just doing what she had to do in another fast race. She's going to get a good trip in here because you can do whatever you want with her. I mean, I wonder a little bit about distance with her. I do kind of feel like maybe she's better going a little bit shorter than she is going a little bit longer. But I think she's going to be fine getting the 1.25 miles. In a lot of ways, I think she's the horse to beat in here.
We love talking about dirtied up horses, and I think Civil Union is the example of a dirtied up horse. She won 4 consecutive races last year, including the Flower Bowl. They stretched her out and she got good. I think her Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf was a deceptively good race. She was checked very hard along the inside on the far turn. She had to split horses. She dropped inside. She ran okay considering the trouble against that tough field. And last time out, the Bogey that we just saw, it's her first race off the layoff. No pace for her to run at. She made a little bit of a run and she flattened out. Sneaky good prep. I bet Chug has her ready.
That's exactly how I looked at it, Dad. I mean, you could just feel like going into the Bogey, it's too short for her off of a layoff, and they're probably just giving her a run. And then you go and watch the race, and it's exactly what it looks like. I mean, she made the mildest of, 4 wide runs around the turn, didn't come close to reaching contention, and got tired in the stretch. It looked like a race that she really needed. And you just go back to, as you said, once they stretched her out last year, it's one good race after another. And her calling card is she just stays in her races. She has good tactical speed and she just stays to the end. This is going to be a much better situation for her, especially if they go in front of her.
Similar situation with Mean Mary, as she got better when stretched out in distance. She just has more early speed than Civil Union. Now, Graham Motion found a spot for her in the Gallerette that he thought the distance was going to be a little bit short for her. That being said, she was just the lone speed and the best horse. Let's watch the Gallerette. She walked the dog. 50.92 for the half, going 1.16 miles, facing no pressure whatsoever. She sprints on home. Maybe she was a little bit short here. I'm not a big Vigilante's Way fan, and she makes it kind of close at the finish. But Mean Mary's stretching out. That's what she wants to do, and she probably gained needed fitness from this race.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way, Dad. I mean, when you watch the race, you're not going to be blown away by her beating this field on a loose lead and a slow pace with an 86 buyer, but it just feels like in a lot of ways, it was probably a workout going back to her form last year. It obviously makes her really, really tough in here over a distance that she gets. And I'm with you. I think Sias is just going to put her right on the front.
Antoinette is up next. She was the winner of the very one at Gulfstream, showing big early speed that day. She showed speed in the Sheepshead Bay last time out, off of a fairly significant layoff before tiring against Magic Attitude. She's fast. The problem is so is Mean Mary, and I'm not sure she's of the caliber of Mean Mary, even though she did win the Saratoga Oaks last year.
Yeah, that's how I looked at her too. I mean, I don't want to knock her too much. I'm not a big fan of hers, if only because, the 2 big wins that she has on turf are just both races where she got absolute control of the pace early and nobody could catch her. It feels like there's no way she gets that trip in here. All in all, her Sheepshead Bay wasn't bad. They put her on the lead. I felt like that field came after her a little bit early, and she was really game in there. She just never looked like she was going to win.
European Invader Thundering Knights, a Group 3 winner over heavy ground in Ireland. She likes cut in the ground, is coming into this race for Joseph O'Brien off a second-place finish in her seasonal debut. We've seen European horses make hay in these North American turf races in the past. This one catches a tough group.
She does catch a tough group, and I felt like it was hard for me to fall for her, Dan. Not that she didn't have good form over there last year. She came off the layoff last time and actually ran pretty well in that race. It looked like she was going to win, and then Broome came from the clouds and ran her down. Broome's a pretty nice horse. She came back and won a Group 2 in her next start, missed by a nose in a Group 1 after that. So she made it close with a really good horse last time.
The 10 Traipsing, the 11 Mutamakina, both trained by Christophe Clement. And I wonder if Christophe has Traipsing in here to provide a little bit of pace for Mutamakina. Traipsing in the La Prévoyante last time out, Mike, just looked very uncomfortable in that race when beaten by Always Shopping. She's a speed horse. She can stay, but there are other pace horses in here.
Yeah, it feels like a tough situation for her. I mean, even her good races last year, and she did run a couple of good ones, even those races are still not going to be enough against this field. And it doesn't feel like she can, just make her way to the lead and back this thing down either. It just feels like there's a lot working against her.
Mutamakina, I believe, is very underrated, consistent in all three of her starts in North America for Clement, handles any kind of footing. And in the Sheepshead Bay, she was forced to stay close to the pace because there was none up front. Magic Attitude was able to run them down late. I thought it was a good enough effort for her off of the layoff. She can move forward, and she won the Long Island second off the layoff last year.
Yeah, she did. She got a great trip in that Long Island, kept Traipsing in range, and then got through on the inside to run her down late, but she ran well in that race. Obviously, her Zagora last year, that was over yielding turf. She got very unlucky in that race and was probably about 5 lengths the best in there, considering the trouble she had. So she'll handle cutting the ground. She ran fine off the layoff last time. She's got to improve, but maybe she'll do it.
Always Shopping, although the beaten favorite in her last 2 races, has just been in excellent form since being switched back to the turf by Todd Pletcher during last fall. Ran some big races at Gulfstream, going long distances of ground. Outside post, but I like her tactical speed. I think she could work out a trip. If she runs here, she's also cross-entered on Saturday, I believe, in the Just a Game.
Yeah, we'll see where they decide to run her. It'd be interesting if they cut her back, but she gets this distance for sure, and she does have good tactical speed. I thought maybe she was a little disappointing last time, Dan, but she did go after Antoinette pretty early in that race. I was a little disappointed she couldn't get control of that thing through the stretch and then got out-finished at the end, but maybe she just went a little too soon.
Top pick time for us in the Grade 2 New York Stakes, the Friday race of the day. Better situation, better distance for Silver Union, Mike. That might get her to the winner's circle at a better price.
Yeah, I mean, those are all the reasons that I took her. I feel like she really needed that race off the layoff last time. Better situation for her here. I'll hope that she comes back and runs one of her good ones. I don't think Harvey's Little Goyle is going to be easy to beat, Dan. She's just a really good horse. I'm hoping Civil Union can work out a trip here and maybe gun her down.
I'd like to use horses like Virginia Joy and the European Thundering Knights at prices in here. Just been very impressed with what I've seen from Harvey's Little Goyle. I think she'll get the jump on a horse like Civil Union Turning From. We'll see how far she wants to go. This is a really interesting race for Harvey's Little Goyle. We know Civil Union wants to run all day long. 6-5-3-7 for Mike, 5-9-2-1 for me. What a race of the day for Friday. It's the Grade 2 New York Stakes at Belmont. Good luck.